Go to the next slide. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming out today. It is the last day of MWC Shanghai, and it's been a full-on event. So much happening, and we're glad we could take this last session of the day of the week really to not really do any kind of product announcements or major pushes in any respect like you might have seen in the other sessions, but actually just take stock of what's happened. We've had so much going on, from monetization discussions to AI deployments to satellite technology to connected cars to kind of you name it. And whilst we can talk about all that, it sort of is also beneficial to step back, take a breath, figure it out in the round, and figure out what it all means. So super pleased to be here today. I'm Tim Hatt. I work with the GSMA analyst group called GSMA Intelligence. We've had a few sessions this week, but really pumped to do this one because I'm going to be joined by some people much smarter than me in a few minutes to come up on the stage, some fellow analysts who are going to share their thoughts as well on the big topics, what it means here in China, what it means for the region, and what it means for the rest of the world. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to talk for about sort of 15 minutes or so, share some of our analysis just to whet the appetite, set the table. And then I'll invite these folks sitting down here up onto the panel, and we'll have a group discussion and wrap it up by about 2:30. So that's a bit about us. We cover telecoms globally, increasingly tech as well, and media and a range of verticals. Get in touch if you want. We've released some new reports this week, write a lot on China, and of course a range of technologies that are impacting this part of the world. So I think first point, sort of thing to bring up is when you look at the event themes, and again, to reiterate, this discussion here is about taking stock of what we heard this week and what it means. So you look at the event themes, well, here they are, 5G inside, everything about 5G, what's happening there. AI is now the dominant sort of technology. It's really entering into a new era, just like the PC era, the smartphone era. We are now firmly in an AI era. How do we take stock of all of that here? Connected industries, what do we mean by that? Well, that's really everything to do with vertical sectors using technology for their own transformations, for their own business, and what that means in terms of the services they can offer, the contributions to the economy, and for everyday people like you and I. And then the enablers, that's really all the glue that makes everything stick together. APIs, spectrum, eSIM technology, things like that. We'll talk about that. You may have seen them around the show this week in various contexts. How do we interpret that? And so I think overlaying all this, how much did these come through? What does it mean for different parts of the world? And then most importantly, looking ahead next 12 months and even past that, what is what's happening in China, one of the most advanced technological parts of the world. What does that mean for what's coming down the pipe? All right, I think it starts, and people are always taking pictures. You can take pictures, it's fine, but we'll put these slides up on our website so you can get them there. It's all about the growth story. That, if you look at revenue growth, this is global. This isn't China, and you can see that for a long time, despite investment going up, having to go up to lay new networks and expand coverage, revenue growth has been pretty, flat in a lot of parts of the world. That's most the case in Europe, North America, other kind of advanced economies, mature economies. Growth has been much higher in China and Asia, and I think there's interesting tidbits to pull from that. But the commonality is that the industry is always in pursuit of a growth story. And so really, a lot of how we interpret this is around, can you monetize, can you generate revenue to orchestrate that story? All right. We put some thoughts together around leading up to the show as we travel around the world to other shows and ask the same sorts of questions, for each of the themes, what's the context? So 5G inside. So I think when we travel to China, what's very clear is this whole kind of part of the world, we call it the CJK triangle, China, Japan, Korea, is at a very advanced position. They're on the vanguard. And you can see here, these are numbers showing 5G subscriber projections. The black shows what it is now, and then the red is what we're going to get the rest of the decade. You see it's very far out in front. You see that increase, whether that is in the mainland or if it's in Taiwan. And then again, the Korea-Japan connection. So much is happening here. I think it's a really interesting insight to see how, particularly in the business world, 5G is being applied to everyday problems, and now really combining with AI to generate whole new use cases that are at the leading edge of what we're probably going to see elsewhere further down the line. AI plus. All right, so we're at the dawn of the AI era. Very hard to sort of quantify one thing or the other, but because it impacts so many different parts of the industry and the economy, one thing we thought it was useful to do is, at least for the mobile operators, to take a look at where they're using AI so far. This is data we've collected based on 250 tier 1 carriers worldwide. And what it's showing is, for each of the parts of their business, how far along are they with AI? So whether you talk about in the network here, the core data centers, through to other parts of the business, the black shows where they're actually already using it. Red is sort of trialing, and the rest is where they're going to, but they haven't yet brought it to bear. And you see kind of early starts really around customer care, sales interfaces. You've probably heard a lot this week on AI agents. That's really kind of the modern day automation of how you can deal with customers, but also if you're an operator or any business, understand how best to generate upsell, reduce churn. A lot happening in AI there. That's point one. But point two is that because as I say, this is such a pervasive technology, we are already seeing this year, and will undoubtedly see, AI starting to be deployed across the whole business. And I think the interesting thing will be gauging the ROI on that for the customers that are using it. How much does it generate cost savings? How much does it allow you to generate incremental revenues? This is the key point to ROI, and hopefully we'll get into that in the panel discussion. Lots of talk on AI this week. Generative AI, agentic is coming. Fanny, I think we'll probably talk about that in the context of connected cars, amongst other verticals. When we think about connected industries, what we're talking about here is, this is sort of an umbrella term for everything vertical sectors are doing with technology. And be that in cellular technology or other types of digital technologies, cloud, edge compute, et cetera. What are they doing? Now, one of our kind of mantras is that it's not really, the technology will only get you so far. Ultimately, it's what that is used for and how it's monetized, both as a service provider and as an enterprise customer in their own business. Ultimately, that's the justification for their own technology investments. This is data from a global enterprise survey we run every year. And the main point I want to draw is that whether you ask people why they are using digital technology for, whether it's revenues, it's cost savings, to try and strengthen your position in the industry or protect against security threats, all of them are important, but actually the most pressing is the revenue angle. Mirror image as to the telco industry, where monetization is so key. And so here, I think the implication from us is that for all of the exhibitors here and all of the sessions we see at the show, are people making the connection between technology and money? You sort of take that for granted. We don't always see that. It is changing now, and I think this is a question we ask ourselves whenever we go to an event like this in different parts of the world. Are they making the connection between technology and how it actually solves the problem? Right, connected enablers. So as I mentioned, enablers are not just one thing. This covers a sort of suite of technologies that, as I say, are the glue. Cloud compute, we see a lot of edge. There's a lot of overlap there with AI inferencing now happening at different parts of the edge. Some really cool applications, monetization prospects from that. eSIM, APIs, very interesting one. So the Open Gateway Initiative, the GSMA has been at the forefront of with almost 80% of operators around the world and a whole host, a battery of channel partner support and the hyperscalers. That really seeks to monetize network capabilities at scale through the developer community and other aggregators. And it's interesting now, China again, along with actually a lot of Southeast Asia who have been very present here, is at the leading edge of an interesting change in the API story, which is that while we kind of saw a lot of security and anti-fraud applications last year, yes, those are still important. Yes, they matter. Of course they do. They're foundational. But we're seeing a shift towards using APIs for communication quality monitoring, quality on demand. If I'm an enterprise customer and I've invested in a private wireless network, I want to make sure I'm getting the performance I'm paying for. APIs are being used for that. We're seeing it in location-based services. And again, when we look at China versus other parts of the world, it's really interesting to sort of take stock of how those use cases are being deployed here, because it gives us a window into how they may be used elsewhere, and crucially, what the revenue models are for those. This is about renewing relevance and monetization, and I think these enablers all connect into that story. So that's hopefully a sort of good or useful prelude into it. We have, as I say, published a number of reports in recent months and actually recent weeks around the China story in tech, because it is so big. You can take the QR codes from here. I'll give you a minute. I think a number of people have got their phones up to do that. What I would say as well is we've also released a new report on the API state of the market. It's called our Open Gateway State of Market. That came out this week. That's that's global, but there is a big focus on China with a number of case studies from that. So I think when we sort of take stock of it, what we want to ask ourselves is, were the themes that were on show, did they resonate? Did they cut through? What was a surprise versus what wasn't? And actually, what's interesting is sort of what perhaps did we expect to come through, but didn't necessarily come through. Just if I quickly flip back to this slide here on AI, a lot of the stuff we see globally happening around customer care and AI deployments in the network are actually further ahead in this region. But why is that? What is the impetus for that, and how can we read across to other parts of the world? That's what we're trying to get at here. We are going to explore all those issues. We're going to talk about the geographic relevance. And then after our panel, if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask us. So that is the GSMA Intelligence reports and QR codes you're welcome to download and get access to. If you don't already have an account, you can create one or get in touch with us to explain that. Right. That sets the table. I don't want to take up any more time speaking myself, because you didn't come to hear me. You probably came to hear, as I say, people that are much smarter than me and have much more interesting insights. So let's move on to that part of the panel. And it's my great pleasure, they're all sitting down here, to welcome up to the stage. So Neil Shaw is coming to us from Counterpoint Research, Guang Yang from Omdia, and Fanny Lee from S&P Global. So they're going to come up and we're going to have a discussion for about half an hour on this. So guys, come on up. Thanks. Take any of these. Thank you. All right. All right, guys, thank you very much. And I know especially Neil and Guang, you guys, have been very busy and getting around the show. So, and Fanny, I know as well from a vertical sector perspective. So super glad to have you guys here. I want to start out. We've got half an hour, and we've got a few topics to cover in that, and I'm sure everybody will have an interesting one. But let's just start out with a simple question to everybody. Top line highlights of the show. You've been here a few days. What kind of each of you? I just want you to give me a brief perspective of what stands out most from what you saw. Neil.
I think obviously the biggest impression which I get is China is so ahead of deployment of 5G, AI, and trying to monetization as you highlighted before. What I saw was the AI is penetrating not only across RAN, but over to the core network. And it's moving from a normal AI to more of agentic AI. And most of the vendors here and operators have deployed a lot of use cases with respect to agentic AI, not only for saving as well as, but also monetization, right? So that was one of the big key takeaways, how network, cloud, as well as edge, the devices are coming together to have the complete AI end-to-end experience, and how operators and vendors are deploying it together.
Yeah, and for sure we'll get into that. You're super right on the edge inference and the sort of AI revenue models. I think that's really interesting. We're seeing a lot of stuff there. Guang, do you want to give us your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, actually. Just as the name of our stage, AI is at the central stage of this year's events. And maybe particularly for operators, particularly for Chinese operators, they are underscored the convergence of mobile and AI.
Yeah.
We know in the past years or past months, there are already many discussions about to leverage AI to improve the networks, to improve the customer cares, as you mentioned right now. But in this event, we have seen more discussion about how to leverage the connectivity, mobile connectivity, to provide AI services. For example, to bundle the AI applications with the mobile service plans, or to provide the edge computing based on the radio access networks.
Yeah. Fanny?
Yeah. So this year I saw in MWC Shanghai, so there are AI and the 5G advanced everywhere in each booth. So from my perspective, the 5G advance seems not so far from us. So it's already entered into the commercial stage, and there is some innovation use cases in the shopping mall, in the railway station, and in the smart industries. So we have seen these innovative use cases with the collaboration of the telecom operators and the industry partners. So it's very exciting when it combines with AI technologies. So yeah, very exciting event.
Yeah. Lots of perspectives there. Well, let's before we get into AI in detail, let's just flip the coin for a minute.
Yeah.
You talk about big highlights. What was anything surprising to you?
Yeah, I think we have been talking about 5G and operators have been deploying 5G, but now we're moving to 5G advanced. For last couple of years, we have been talking about 5.5G, 5G-A, but right now we are seeing live commercialization and the benefits of those, which is in form of multiple use cases. As I said, it is helping operators monetize more based on experience, right? So that was missing with the normal 5G, and that is what struck me, that the 5G advanced is actually delivering the promise which we were talking about for the 5G for the last 5 years. So I think that was the key takeaway.
Yeah, for me, I think this event should be the first time, at least for me, to see the automotive companies, robotics companies, or drone companies, they set up the booths in this kind of mobile communication events. I think this highlights the mobile has become a must-have for the modern society to connect everything, not only people, but things, automotive, robotics, drones.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up the point about vertical sector companies being exhibitors and showing how they're using the technology for themselves. We don't always see that everywhere. And it's sort of like one side of the coin is talking about the technology and the promise, but you're not necessarily seeing it or how it's used. And Fanny, I know you specialize in the automotive sector and are, you know, an expert in looking at how the connected car has evolved over time. How do you reflect on cars here and how they're using, you know, 5G and AI? What can you tell us there?
Yeah, sure. And so automotive industry is now doing some transformations. So as the combustion engine vehicles transform into electrifications. So with this energy transition, there is a technology enabler. So 5G and 5G Advanced is still in the early stage. So automotive industry is like 3 to 5 years behind the smartphone industries. And now the 5G enabled connected vehicles still less than 20%. But almost all the new energy vehicles are 100% connected. So this is the enabler technologies to exchange the vehicle informations with the cloud. And for the AI technologies, it's also like combined in the technology in the vehicles because there is autonomous driving. So everybody's is focusing on the L2 plus for the highway and the city pilots. And there is also L4 robotaxis. So these are existing in some city pilot zones. So you will see government support in these areas, and robot taxis start the mass production and the like the pilot test for the deployment in some city zones. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting industries and combined with 5G and AI technologies.
And just to follow up on that, I mean, because it's funny, driving around Shanghai, you see so many electric vehicles. Very, very high share of the cars on the road. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it's a high share. Look, and that's not the case everywhere else. And I wonder, China seems to have a gelled ecosystem, like an ecosystem that really works well together between, you know, operators, vendors, systems integrators, and others to allow these technologies to scale. Do you have a view on why that is here? Maybe using the automotive sector or another industry?
Yeah.
Why does it work so well here?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because we conduct also some consumer surveys. So we want to understand the consumers from different countries, what's their attitude to accept some new features and new services. And we find that in the mainland China, consumers are more willingness to try these new technologies, and they have higher tolerance to accept some early defect for the technology. So this is one perspective from the consumer. But the other side is the supply chain and ecosystem. And so you will not see everywhere in the world that the same company that run the business in different industries. But for automotive, you see Huawei enter in the automotive, same for Xiaomi. So they are building these foundation technologies in the automotive industry transformations.
Yeah. No, that's interesting insight. We've talked about big picture highlights, surprises, how AI is starting to impact across the industry. Neil, you look a lot at the device world, you know, be that smartphones or other devices. Talk about what you've seen here in terms of how you think AI is going to change the way we use devices in the coming years. And what did anything stand out here that might give us some clues there?
Yeah, sure. If you see with respect to AI, there are two parallel ecosystems going on. One is China and one is outside of China.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there are geopolitical constraints with China to develop more cutting edge AI.
Yep.
But even though with those constraints, the China ecosystem has developed cutting edge AI on the edge with respect to foundation models, as well as in terms of the different experiences coming out of those applications. We saw what DeepSeek did a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
It changed the economics, complete change of the economics of the game. And what I've seen with some of the devices here is most of the big tech giants have got into building the AI foundation models and working very cohesively, not only with device vendors, but also with the operators to bring new edge AI experiences.
Okay.
For example, one good example beyond smartphone I saw was at China Unicom.
Okay.
So they have this smart AI box, which is built with Baidu and Huawei.
Yep.
So that box actually can do home monitoring with this camera. It can do OTT. It can do health. It can do smart home. It can do all the AI agent like assistant work, everything.
Yep.
And at a very cheap price point. So everyone in the ecosystem across the stack makes money, right? From silicon vendors, device vendor, Huawei, Baidu, and operator. So that is one of the examples which we see, which we have not seen outside of China yet.
Yep.
And smartphones is again quite mature here. This is even though they don't have access to latest chipsets.
And I guess just, Guang, I'll come to you in a minute, but I just want a quick follow-up on that. So do you think whether you're talking about, from a competitive perspective, so whether you're talking about Apple or Honor or Xiaomi or Samsung or who, what have you, how much will AI become a competitive differentiator that's going to start influencing smartphone sales market share?
Yeah, Gen AI is becoming more and more important according to our surveys. We have seen in China consumer as, and he said they're very adept to using latest and latest technologies, and they're spending more time on the phones than anything else.
Yep.
Right. So the phone is no longer a content consumption device, but a content creation device as well. And what we have seen on how the ecosystem works together, to your question to Fanny, is operators are also working with giving super uplink, right? To upload this live streaming data and monetizing it with experience.
Yep.
At the same time, we are also seeing players like Honor, players like Xiaomi, not Xiaomi, Xiaomi slightly behind, but I would say Honor, Oppo, Vivo, they are working really well with the different ecosystem players to bring all those new Gen AI experiences on the phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just sticking on the AI theme, and we're going to come to enablers in that bucket in a minute. But with the AI theme, when we talk about, Neil talked about some of the interesting AI edge applications, whether it could be AR on the device. We're seeing a lot of on-premises applications for enterprise. Do you see this as a revenue opportunity for the mobile operators? And if so, and this is the key part, what do they need to do differently to capitalize on that?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, we received many questions, similar questions from operators. Actually, I think this year we have seen some development in consumer market. For example, in China, Chinese operators, they have provided the new calling, service new calling, with some AI features. The AI capabilities can summarize the call, give the real-time translation, something like that. And we have seen, for example, SK Telecom in South Korea, they have provided their own AI assistant, A-Star, to bundle the AI assistant with their mobile service plans. And in the US, Verizon Wireless, they have bundled the Google AI assistant with their mobile 5G service plans. So I think in the consumer market, it's a bit straightforward just to bundle the AI applications with your mobile service plans. It will work, I think. But for the enterprise market, it's a bit complicated. You need to build the ecosystem. For example, in this show, we have seen the automotive, robotics. You have to build the ecosystem to work with other industries.
Yeah.
To work together to develop the edge computing business, to develop the converged mobile and computing services. Actually, we have seen some applications in the fixed broadband area. For example, in this city, Shanghai, China Telecom Shanghai, they have provided some bundled service of edge computing and fixed broadband.
Yeah.
But with the development of robotics or the automotive, I think we could expect to see more development in mobile sector as well, to bundle the mobile connectivity with edge computing for enterprise, for verticals.
Yeah. And you talk about it being a complex delivery model. I think it's fair to say that it's no longer the case that certainly in the B2B delivery model, no one's really doing it alone. There's partnerships involved at every step of the chain. Do you think at MWC here and other trade events like this, there's enough on display to show how those partnerships can work in practice? Or do you think that's still kind of a theoretical concept that people need to work out? Like,
Yeah, I think this is not a new question, I think. Since the beginning phase of 5G, we mentioned 5G should target the enterprise market to develop the vertical applications. At that time, we have faced such questions. As far as I know, I think the operator, at least for China, Chinese operators or leading vendors such as Huawei, ZTE, they have developed some pre-integration labs, open labs, to work with the vertical players and operators, maybe cloud platform vendors together. In the lab, they can integrate all of these things together to save the time on site.
Yep.
I think it's a good platform. It could be a good platform.
Yeah. When we talk about, and under the theme, the banner of enablers, as I said, it's sort of a grab bag of things. It includes many things. It's not just one thing. And we've put some of them up on the screen here. But Fanny, I'm interested, again, coming at it from a vertical sector perspective, eSIM, and how that is helping to smooth, the provisioning experience. What can you tell us about that? Did we see anything this week here that shows where eSIM is going? Any surprises there?
Yeah, sure. So one of the biggest topic in automotive industry this year is how Chinese automakers going abroad to the other market, because there is a fierce price war this year and last year. So as the supplier vehicle volume is very higher than demand, so on top Chinese automakers are looking for the other market for the new energy vehicles or even combustion engine vehicles export. So when it comes to the connectivities, because different countries, consumers has different app ecosystem or connectivities. So I see in some booths in MWC, the eSIM providers, so they work with Chinese OEM and build these solutions and provide to their connected vehicles to any other countries. So they have solutions for the Europe regions and also for the South Asia, etc.
Yeah.
So they offer like a complete solutions that help the Chinese domestic OEM to go to the market with faster speed.
Neil, again, I just one follow up on eSIM. I mean, when eSIM became sort of a thing 5 or 6 years ago, it was really longer than that, more an M2M and IoT story, something that was helping provision remote, weather monitors and other IoT devices. Do we see that shifting into the smartphone world? Do we get any clues here about where that's going?
Yeah, I think eSIM started with cars and M2M, as you rightly said, into IoT modules. Even though the penetration has been up and down because of different geographies as well, and China dominates 50% of the IoT market. But when you come to smartphones, Apple and Samsung pioneered eSIM in smartphones, and now in USA, for example, iPhone is 100% eSIM. There's no physical slot, right? So according to our data, almost 1 in 4 smartphones sold today has eSIM capability, right? And but it has to go down the price bands, right? The eSIM capability. There's a cost, bill of materials cost to adding an eSIM. But at the same time, there are a lot of benefits. But obviously, operators have to work together. For example, China is contributing 35% of the global smartphone sales,
Yep.
right? But China, there is no eSIM in smartphones.
Yep.
It's still physical SIM. Maybe this year, government might open up
Yep.
for operators to have eSIM inside China,
Yep.
smartphones.
Yep.
That will drive an inflection point for smartphones, going down the price points, and globally we would see maybe in 3-4 years, every smartphone will have a eSIM.
Yeah. 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 I guess it depends on where you are in the world. Another big topic on show, satellite technology and NTN. Very, very pronounced, not just in China, but really across the world. I'm interested to get, again, do you guys think that, where do you think this goes? Does this become a key technology that people will be integrating with terrestrial cellular technology? Do you see it going into IoT? Again, common question, do you think that what we see here in China gives us a clue to elsewhere, including for cars, say?
I think NTN is a good to have technology. It's not the necessary technology, but for wherever there is a digital divide,
Yep.
right? There's rural and urban. I think there it makes sense
Yep.
to have, whether it is in terms of IoT logistics, last
Yeah.
mile, or consumer FWA, right? So for that point of view, I believe NTN can help. But other than that, I think it will remain niche. But if it's part of standard, it will be easier from the cost perspective for operators and for device makers.
Well, Jonah?
Yeah, I think in the short term, NTN is just mainly for emergency services. It's just like insurance for users. You pay a bit small amount of money per month to get insurance.
Yeah.
But in the long term, NTN may have, if the satellite capability is improved,
Yeah.
they can provide some kind of data services, even the low-speed data.
Yeah.
They may make some change in the market. For example, in the US today, we have seen T-Mobile provide the NTN services through eSIM to the operator, to customers of other operators.
Yep.
It may be some changing in the market landscape. Yeah.
Yeah. We got just under 10 minutes left, and I want to. We've talked a lot of different, technology developments. We've talked about the revenue and monetization side of things. We've talked about big ticket trends and how to take what we see here in China to interpret what might happen elsewhere. And on that vein, I'm interested to sort of use these last few minutes to look ahead to the future, the next 12 months. And Fanny, maybe coming back to you, I mean, when you look at all the technology world and connectivity world in general, what do you think are the biggest things we need to be watching in the next 12 months?
Yes. So from the technology point of view, especially in the 5G and the 5G advanced, so I would like to see some advanced technologies and the industry vertical use cases between the collaborations of different companies that really advance the enhanced connectivities. Maybe it's for the enterprise use and the impact for the final consumers. So what's the 5G advanced premium connectivities can enhance customer experience in their daily life. And another technology to watch out is the AI, like the large models, the advancement, because in recent months, there is different enterprise announcement of the advancement of the latest model release. So in February, we have DeepSeek that's impact almost all Chinese consumers' daily life. People start to use DeepSeek more often. And same in for the tech company like the ByteDance, Tencent. So they all launch these models with more than billions of tokens daily consumed by the Chinese consumers. So I think this technology advancement is unstoppable. So I would like to see what's the technologies impact our business case, our consumer electronics, AI PC, smartphone, etc. So really exciting to see how this happening in next 12 months.
Well,
Yeah, I think for the next 12 months, for mobile sectors, I think the big topic should be the convergence of mobile and AI,
yep.
particularly for 5G advanced and AI, and particularly for the enterprise vertical sectors.
Yep.
If we could get some progress in terms of the ecosystem building, the development of business case, if we get some progress, we would like to. I think we could see more business case, business models in next year's event here.
And do you think on that theme of the convergence between mobile or AI, are there any leaders you would pull out right now to show as examples of where you think things are going?
I think at least, for example, for the connected car, with the AI computing on the cloud, you can provide more smarter navigator for the drivers.
Yeah.
I think it's a good case to convert the mobile connectivity with AI computing on the cloud or edge computing.
Yeah.
And for robotics, it's also there may be some use cases, but it depends on the progress in next 12 months.
Yeah.
If the industry can work together to get the real progress.
Yeah. Neil, how about you? Biggest thing that we watch out for in the next 12 months? And also, how about we say, not just the biggest thing to watch out for, but also the biggest risk?
Right. So I think there are a couple of things to look at. First is China has become benchmark on how to monetize and how to deploy the 5G advanced, right? So how the global operators will take this template and use it in their own markets, right? Obviously, there are a lot of other dynamics like how ecosystem work together. China works is a well-oiled machinery. Other have to work with the ecosystem to do that. But what are the use cases? Is like uplink monetization, experience-based monetization. Can other operators do that? So we'll have to see next 12 months who does that. Whoever does that first will try to recover, have a good ROI for their things. Second, I would say most interesting part is we are talking about convergence of 5G advanced and AI, right?
Okay.
But everyone has their own way of doing like AI, right? Every operator, big operator will have their own agents, own AI framework, like everyone trying to use their own core network or something like that, right? So what will be the standardization
Yep.
around it, right? How the different Huawei AI agent will talk to the operator AI agent,
Yeah.
right? How Amdocs AI agent will talk to the other operator. So
Yep.
that standardization is going to be super important.
Yep.
And what 3GPP does
Yeah.
to have natively AI into the network,
Yep.
I think that is something to watch out for.
That's a great point around the standards and the risk of fragmentation there. And do you go down two tracks in this part of the world or others, and what ripple effect does that have? Last question, lightning round question. We got just over a minute, so I'm going to ask for a reply in 20 seconds or less from each of you.
Wow.
Talked about big things to look for, the risk outlook. What about a wild card, X factor, an uncertainty you think we need to watch that may influence the trajectory of the industry? So next 12 months, biggest uncertainty factor we should be thinking about.
I think it's power, electricity. Everyone, if billion of users are going to use AI on their phones, and there will be overload of servers, and we need more servers. Everyone is thinking about building a nuclear plant for their data centers.
Yeah.
So I think that is the biggest bottleneck I see right now.
That's an interesting one.
I think consumers' attitude towards AI applications should be some kind of uncertainties. If they accept the AI applications, how about their concerns about data privacy? How about their concerns about the human in the loop? If we should human made a decision or AI made a decision, all this still uncertain. I think.
So we got energy and power. We've got the consumer attitude and reception.
Yeah.
Benny? Last
I
word.
would say for automotive, it's more geopolitical environment because these events will impact the country economy, and companies will doing more cautious business decisions like the cost saving for the companies as well as increased efficiencies. So that is some factors to monitor.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. Yeah, well, sage points from all of you, and as I say, that's given us 30 minutes, but we could go for 30 minutes more. We go for hours more. But alas, we've got to call time at some point. So thank you guys so much for sharing your perspectives and your insights on this show, which has been a great show. It's been very interesting, very informative. And as you've seen from the discussion, I think there's a lot to take away back to wherever we're heading back to for everybody. But thank you all so much for coming today and spending your last hour or a couple of hours with us of the show. I hope you've had a great week. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the event and safe travels home. And I think there's a very good chance we will find ourselves back here next year talking about how things have evolved based on the predictions made today. So thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Neil. Cheers. Thanks, Guru. Thanks, Manny.